Ever wondered why some older men seem to radiate peace and quiet strength, even though they live alone? As we age, the idea of living alone might bring thoughts of loneliness or boredom. But for many older men, it's quite the opposite. In fact, living alone can become one of the most freeing, empowering, and even healing experiences in later life. This video is for you if you're a man in your 52nd, 60s, 70s, or beyond, and you've either chosen to live alone or are considering it. We'll explore 8 specific benefits of living alone, especially in your later years, and how it can bring more clarity, control, and joy into your life. Each point will dive deeper than just surface-level independence. We're talking about peace of mind, personal growth, and even a new confidence that comes from knowing who you are without needing anyone else's approval. If you've ever felt like you're too old to change your lifestyle, or worried that living alone means giving up something important, you might find the opposite to be true. This video could help you see living alone not as a limitation, but as a powerful new chapter. Stay tuned until the end, because you'll discover how living alone in your older years can boost your confidence and change the way you view aging. If you haven't subscribed yet, I recommend you do so and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any future videos. Let's get started. Number 1, freedom of routine. One of the first and most noticeable benefits of living alone as an older man is the complete freedom over your daily routine. When you don't have to share your space with anyone else, you no longer have to negotiate over meal times, sleep schedules, TV volume, or when the lights go off. You can wake up when your body naturally wants to, take your time in the morning, and go about your day exactly as you see fit. This freedom might seem small, but it builds up over time and becomes deeply fulfilling. Many older men spent decades living by someone else's timetable, whether it was raising kids, working every day, or being considerate of a partner's preferences. But now, for perhaps the first time in years, you can center your life around your own rhythm. This freedom allows your body and mind to settle into what feels natural. Maybe your most productive hours are just before dawn, or maybe you find your energy rising late at night when the world is quiet. Living alone means you can follow your internal clock without guilt or disruption. For example, Tom, a 74-year-old retired carpenter, used to wake up at 5:30 every day out of habit, even after he retired. But once he started living alone, he realized he didn't actually enjoy mornings. Now, he sleeps until 8, makes his coffee slowly, and reads by the window until the sun rises. He's never felt more rested. This isn't about becoming lazy or undisciplined. In fact, many men find that when they're no longer trying to match someone else's pace, they actually become more consistent and focused. The freedom of living alone helps you rebuild a sense of internal balance that was hard to maintain in a shared life. It's not just the big routines either. It's the little things too. Listening to your favorite music without compromise, eating the food you like when you want, or watching the old westerns or baseball reruns without having to explain yourself. It's the subtle sense that everything in your home is finally yours. Even chores become more peaceful. There's no pressure to meet someone else's standards. You decide how clean the kitchen should be, what the garden should look like, and how your home feels. It's no longer a negotiation. It's a reflection of you. Perhaps most importantly, living alone gives you the time and space to check in with yourself throughout the day. How am I feeling? What do I need? What would make today meaningful? You don't need permission to change your plans or explain yourself. When a man has the power to live by his own clock, without apology or compromise, something inside him strengthens. That quiet autonomy is more than just a convenience. It's the foundation for deeper self-trust. And as you get older, that becomes more precious. Number 2, mental clarity and peace. Living alone as an older man can be one of the most powerful ways to protect your peace of mind. When you're not constantly adjusting to someone else's mood, noise, or expectations, your nervous system has the chance to settle. Over time, that quiet environment supports a sense of calm and clarity that can be difficult to find in a busy shared household. Inner calm is hard to find in a shared home. It's not that being around others is always stressful, but for many older men, especially those who spent years problem-solving for a family or workplace, the absence of constant input can feel like a long-awaited release. In a home of your own, the silence isn't empty, it's restorative. There's less small talk, fewer distractions, and none of the emotional tension that can come from sharing space with someone whose habits or energy don't align with yours. You no longer have to read the room, walk on eggshells, or wonder if something you said struck the wrong chord. You can simply be. This stillness gives your mind space to breathe. Without the constant buzz of someone else's television, voice, or emotions filling your space, you may find your thoughts becoming clearer. Ideas you've been too busy to notice start to rise, and patterns you've lived with for decades begin to make sense. Frank, A 69-year-old former bus driver said he didn't realize how much tension he was holding in his chest until he spent 3 full weeks alone after his divorce. No arguments, no passive-aggressive silences, just quiet. He said, "For the first time in years, my thoughts felt like they belonged to me." This clarity also shows up emotionally. You begin to realize which feelings are truly yours and which ones were reactions to someone else. The emotional highs and lows even out. You stop over-explaining or defending your choices. The quiet becomes a teacher, and in that peace, a sense of control returns. You decide what to focus on, whether it's a project, a memory, a walk outside, or simply sipping coffee and staring at the sky. You spend more time in reflection, gratitude, and observation, things that are easily lost in a crowded or emotionally demanding environment. Even your physical space starts to reflect your clarity. A tidy, quiet home brings ease to your mind. You may notice your sleep improves, your digestion steadies, and your energy becomes more consistent. It's not magic, it's your nervous system finally operating without constant interruptions. Of course, some people fear that too much quiet will lead to loneliness, but there's a difference between being alone and being isolated. Living alone gives you the option for solitude without the obligation to entertain or accommodate others, and that freedom changes everything. If you're still watching and finding these insights valuable, please comment number 2 below to let me know you're here. And if you haven't subscribed yet, I recommend you do so and turn on the bell to make sure you don't miss any videos. Your support helps us continue creating helpful content to inform and inspire you. Now, let's move on. Number 3, rediscovery of self. One of the most surprising and rewarding things about living alone as an older man is rediscovering who you really are. After decades of showing up as a provider, partner, parent, or employee, it's easy to lose track of the quieter parts of yourself, the parts that existed long before titles and responsibilities piled up. When the house becomes quiet and the days are fully yours, space opens up, not just physically, but internally. You begin to notice what draws your attention, what books you're reaching for, what music you start playing again, and the thoughts you have when no one else is steering the conversation. Many men don't realize how much of their identity was shaped by the people around them until those people aren't there every day. While that realization can feel jarring at first, it's also a doorway back to the self, a deeper self that was always there but often put on hold for the sake of family, career, or comfort. Charles, a 76-year-old widower, once said he didn't remember the last time he painted a picture before moving into his own apartment. It wasn't that anyone had stopped him, but he had simply forgotten he loved it. After a few months of living alone, he picked up a paintbrush again, and that quiet joy returned like an old friend. Living alone removes a constant social mirror that subtly tells you who to be. Without needing to match someone else's expectations or adapt to their moods, you get to rediscover who you are on your own terms. You can finally ask yourself, what do I enjoy? What do I believe? What have I been missing? Maybe it's something simple, like wearing slippers all day, or rearranging the furniture without asking anyone's opinion. Or maybe it's something bigger, like picking up a hobby you abandoned years ago, or exploring a spiritual path you never had time for. You might find that the foods you cook, the shows you watch, and even the way you speak to yourself start to change. The absence of constant interaction creates space for curiosity to return. That inner spark you thought was gone, it's still there, just needing a little room to breathe. There's a quiet pride in this rediscovery. It's not about chasing youth or clinging to past versions of yourself. It's about honoring the man you've become and giving him permission to keep growing. At this stage of life, growth looks different. It's softer and slower, but it's no less powerful. Some men begin journaling again. Others travel alone for the first time. Some finally feel ready to face old memories and release past regret. The beauty of solitude is that it doesn't rush you. It invites you to return to yourself. And when you spend enough time with that self, something beautiful happens. You become more content in your own company. You stop needing to prove anything. You speak more gently to yourself and begin to feel at home, not just in your house, but in your own mind. In a world that often tells older men to stay strong, stay busy, stay useful, choosing solitude is a quiet act of rebellion. It says, I matter, even when no one's watching, and that belief can change how you carry yourself in every part of life. Once you've reconnected with who you are beneath the noise, you begin to live not out of habit, but from a place of truth. That kind of life, even lived alone, is never lonely. It's rooted, rich, and deeply alive. Number 4, financial control. Living alone often brings a level of financial control that many older men haven't experienced in years. When you're the only one managing your money, every decision, big or small, comes back to you. There's no more negotiating over purchases, no more surprise expenses, and no more stress from someone else's spending habits. You get to decide how much to save, how much to spend, and what truly matters to you. This isn't about becoming stingy or overly cautious. It's about clarity. Living alone lets you look at your budget and say, this is enough. That kind of peace is something many older men say they didn't realize they were missing. Without the need to support someone else's lifestyle or habits, you might find that your money stretches further. Maybe it's in the form of a smaller grocery bill, a downsized living space with lower rent or utilities, or fewer entertainment costs. Even little things, like choosing not to subscribe to services you don't use or skipping outings that used to feel obligatory, start to add up. James, an 81-year-old veteran, shared that once he moved into a small one-bedroom place and started living alone, he finally understood where his money had been leaking. He realized he didn't need 3 streaming services, 2 cars, or weekly dinners out. He kept what mattered and let go of what didn't. The best part? There's no guilt. You're not depriving anyone. You're simply aligning your finances with your life. That means if you want to spend more on something you love, like quality food, a well-made jacket, or travel, you can do so without second-guessing, because every dollar is your decision. This sense of financial independence often brings emotional benefits too. When you know exactly what's coming in and going out, stress levels drop, you sleep better, and you stop worrying about whether someone else is being responsible. You know the answer because it's you. This kind of control can also reignite long-term thinking. Maybe you start investing again, or perhaps you finally write that will, organize your savings, or create a simple budget that feels empowering instead of restrictive. Living alone gives you the chance to take charge of your financial life with intention, not just habit. For some men, it's when they start giving more freely, not just because they can, but because they want to. Whether it's contributing to a grandchild's education or helping a neighbor in need, generosity becomes a choice, not a burden. You also get to define what luxury means to you. For one man, it might be fresh flowers on the table. For another, it could be a quiet fishing trip once a month. The point is, you're no longer trying to fit your life into someone else's budget. Instead, you're shaping it around your own values. And when that happens, your money starts to feel less like something to chase and more like something that serves you. It becomes a tool for freedom, not a source of anxiety. If you're still watching and finding these insights valuable, please comment number 4 below to let me know you're here. If you haven't subscribed yet, I recommend subscribing and turning on the bell so you don't miss any future. Your support helps us continue creating valuable content to inform and inspire you. Now let's move forward. Number 5, privacy and health management. One of the most underappreciated benefits of living alone as an older man is the privacy it offers when managing your health. As we age, doctor visits, medications, physical changes, and even bathroom habits can become more frequent and sometimes more sensitive. Having your own space means you can handle all of this without feeling watched, judged, or rushed. When you live with others, even those who care deeply about you, there's often an unspoken pressure to minimize your struggles. You might feel the need to downplay discomfort, hide your fatigue, or put on a brave face just to avoid worrying someone else. But living alone removes that pressure. You can be fully honest with yourself about how you're feeling and respond accordingly. Take James, a 77-year-old man living alone in Michigan. He was recently diagnosed with a chronic digestive condition. When he lived with his daughter and her family, he found himself skipping meals or pushing through symptoms to avoid disrupting their routines. But once he moved into his own space, he started managing his condition more effectively. He ate when his body needed it, adjusted his routine, and even made time for gentle stretching after meals without feeling self-conscious. Living alone also allows you to keep health matters private until you're ready to share. Whether it's learning about a new diagnosis, recovering from a procedure, or adjusting to new medication, there's value in having the space to process it all quietly. You don't have to explain every appointment, side effect, or pill. You just focus on healing. For many older men, this privacy also helps maintain dignity. Some health-related tasks like taking insulin, using assisted devices, or dealing with incontinence can feel embarrassing even in front of loved ones. But in your own space, you can handle them without fear of interruption or exposure. This privacy restores a sense of control. You get to design your routines around what helps you feel better. Maybe that means taking a nap in the middle of the day, using a heating pad while watching TV, or soaking your feet in the kitchen sink without anyone asking questions. You're not adjusting to someone else's expectations of how a healthy person should look. You're listening to your body and responding with kindness. It also becomes easier to organize your medications, supplements, and records. You're free to set up reminders, store things where they make sense to you, and track your progress without someone else rearranging your system. This kind of autonomy makes managing your health feel more doable. And let's not overlook one more thing. When you do need help, you get to choose when and how to ask. You're not obligated to involve someone in every little thing. But you can build a system of support that reflects your preferences, whether it's a trusted friend, a nearby neighbor, or a visiting nurse. Living alone doesn't mean ignoring your health. It means managing it on your own terms. For many men, this shift turns what was once a source of frustration into a daily act of self-respect. You stop waiting for someone else to care for you and realize you're already doing a great job yourself. Number 6, no emotional burden from others' moods. One of the most overlooked freedoms of living alone is the ability to protect your emotional energy. When you share a home with a spouse, family, or even a roommate, you're constantly picking up on other people's moods, frustrations, and emotional swings. Over time, that silent weight adds up. Living alone means your home becomes an emotional sanctuary. You're no longer waking up to someone else's bad mood. You're not walking on eggshells or trying to solve someone else's problems before you've had your coffee. That constant emotional management, something many men have done without question, suddenly disappears. And it's only when it's gone that you realize how much it was costing you. Mike, a 73-year-old retired mechanic, shared that after his wife passed, what he missed wasn't just her presence, but also what he didn't miss. He no longer felt the need to mediate arguments, smooth over misunderstandings, or cheer someone up just to keep the household running. What emerged was a kind of quiet relief he hadn't known he needed. This isn't to say relationships are bad, but constant emotional entanglement can be draining, especially in later life when energy is more limited. Living alone offers the chance to protect your emotional fuel and spend it intentionally, not reactively. You get to decide what enters your emotional space. If the news feels overwhelming, you turn it off. If someone's text message feels demanding, you don't have to respond right away. If a memory stirs up something difficult, you have space to sit with it privately. There's no one pressuring you to move on or explain it. Living alone also allows you to regulate your inner world more consistently without outside emotional noise. Your feelings become easier to track and understand. You start noticing patterns, what makes you feel calm, what stresses you out, and what brings unexpected joy. This awareness is a gift, leading to greater self-compassion. You're no longer comparing your reactions to someone else's. You're not being told to lighten up or get over it. You respond to your emotions with the care and respect they deserve. When you do choose to engage with others, you bring a steadier, more grounded presence. You're not showing up already worn down, nor are you overcompensating for someone else's volatility. Instead, you're simply showing up as yourself, clear, calm, and ready to connect on your own terms. For men who have spent decades navigating the emotional landscape of family life, this kind of autonomy can feel unfamiliar at first. You may even feel guilty for enjoying it, but that guilt fades when you realize you're not shutting people out. You're just reclaiming your right to emotional rest. And that makes a difference. Better sleep, lower blood pressure, fewer outbursts, and less resentment. All because you're no longer carrying the invisible weight of someone else's stress. In solitude, your nervous system resets. You laugh more freely, cry more honestly, and grieve and celebrate without feeling judged. Maybe for the first time in a long while, you feel emotionally safe in your own home. That kind of peace can't be bought, but it can be built, one quiet, intentional day at a time. If you're still watching and finding these insights valuable, please comment number 6 below to let me know you're here. If you haven't subscribed yet, I recommend subscribing and turning on the bell so you don't miss any videos. Your support helps us continue creating meaningful content to inform and inspire you. Now, let's move forward. Number 7, more time for purposeful solitude. When you're living alone, something special starts to happen. Your time becomes your own again. With that time comes something many men didn't realize they were missing: purposeful solitude. Not just being alone, but being alone with intention. Without the constant company or expectations of others, you gain long stretches of uninterrupted time. In those quiet hours, you begin to rediscover the value of simply being, not doing, not performing, not fixing, just being. This solitude creates a natural space for reflection, for reading that book you've picked up 5 times but never finished, for sitting in a chair with a warm drink and no particular goal in mind, or for walking around your neighborhood at your own pace, not needing to make conversation or follow anyone else's steps. There's something sacred about that freedom. It brings a different kind of richness, one built not on activity, but on presence. It doesn't mean you stop being productive. In fact, many men find themselves getting more done, not because they're rushing, but because there's no interruption. You can fix a cabinet, write a letter, organize your garage, or plant a few tomatoes, all on your timeline. But more than anything, solitude becomes the ground where peace and meaning can grow. You begin to notice small joys again, the light shifting across the floor, the way your body relaxes when music plays, the quiet satisfaction of finishing a task you started for no one but yourself. From this place of solitude, creativity often awakens. Maybe you begin journaling, playing an old guitar, or baking bread just to see if you can. Maybe you start writing your memories down, not for anyone else, but because they deserve a place in the world. Ben, a 68-year-old retired law enforcement officer, said he was surprised to discover how much he enjoyed watercolor painting after years of avoiding quiet hobbies. He told me he hadn't felt that peaceful since childhood. That's the power of solitude. It gives you back parts of yourself you didn't know were still waiting. It also gives you space to feel things fully, to process past regrets without interruption, to grieve what was lost, to celebrate what remains. No one's watching. No one's correcting your tears or hurrying your joy. And here's what many men don't realize until they live alone. Solitude doesn't shrink your world, it deepens it. You begin to understand your own rhythms and desires. You stop trying to fill every moment with noise, and in that quiet, you often find strength you didn't know was still there. The world outside may be rushing faster each year, but inside your space, time slows down just enough to matter. You stop living for the next appointment or obligation and start living each moment as it arrives. When you do connect with others, whether it's an old friend, a grandchild, or a kind stranger at the market, you do so from a place of fullness, not depletion. Your solitude becomes a source of renewal, not a sign of distance. You're not hiding from the world, you're preparing yourself to meet it with more clarity, presence, and purpose. And that kind of life, it may look simple from the outside, but from within, it feels profoundly whole. Number 8, ability to build selective relationships. One of the most powerful and often unexpected benefits of living alone as an older man is the freedom to build relationships on your terms. When you're not constantly surrounded by people out of obligation, you start to realize how many interactions were based on habit, not genuine connection. Living alone gives you the opportunity to choose who you spend time with, how often, and in what way. There's no pressure to entertain daily, no silent expectations to engage in conversation when you'd rather rest. You become the gatekeeper of your social energy, and that's not just convenient, it's empowering. You begin to notice who energizes you, who respects your time, and who actually listens. And perhaps even more importantly, you start to notice who doesn't. With this awareness, many older men begin trimming the excess phone calls that always leave you drained, visits that feel more like chores than joy, and people who never ask how you're really doing. These are the interactions that fade away when you start living alone. Instead, you make room for smaller, richer connections, a friend you haven't seen in years who suddenly feels like family, a neighbor who shares your love for gardening, or a conversation at church that lingers longer than expected. These moments become deeper because you're showing up by choice, not out of obligation. This kind of social life isn't loud or crowded, it's intentional. You might meet a friend for breakfast once a week, or invite someone over for coffee and music on a quiet Sunday. And when it's over, you return to your peaceful space without guilt or tension. Larry, an 80-year-old bachelor, told me he used to feel lonely even in a house full of relatives. But now, living alone, he finds more meaning in a single heartfelt chat than in years of small talk. When I talk to someone now, he said, it's because I want to, not because I'm expected to. For those open to it, living alone can even open doors to new types of connection, volunteering, support groups, online communities, walking clubs, whatever fits your interests. These aren't just ways to stay busy, they're opportunities to meet people who align with your current values, pace, and mindset. And here's something important. Building selective relationships doesn't mean shutting people out. It means honoring the space you've worked hard to create. It's about giving yourself permission to connect only when it feels right. Some men find that this leads to stronger family bonds. When you're not living under the same roof, visits become more meaningful, conversations more intentional, and boundaries clearer. Everyone leaves feeling more respect. Others discover that the best relationship they've built is the one with themselves. From that foundation, everything else, friendships, dating, even simple interactions like with a checkout clerk, becomes healthier. You show up fully, not because you're trying to impress or fix anyone, but because you're steady in who you are. That kind of self-possession is magnetic. Living alone doesn't mean living without love. In fact, it often leads you straight to it, on your own time, in your own way, and in exactly the measure that brings peace instead of pressure. And at this point in life, isn't that what connection should feel like? Real, respectful, and entirely your choice. Final thoughts. Living alone as an older man is often misunderstood. People might assume it's lonely, a sign of decline, or that it means giving something up. But as we've seen, the truth is often the opposite. For many men, it's one of the most empowering, peaceful, and clarifying chapters of life. You've seen how it can bring freedom to your routine, calm to your mind, a deeper sense of self, and real control over your finances and emotions. You've heard how it can offer privacy, space, space for reflection, and the chance to build relationships that truly matter. So now I want to ask you, which of these benefits stood out to you the most? Which one do you see in your own life, or hope to embrace in the years ahead? Maybe you've been living alone for a while now but didn't realize how much it was helping you grow, or maybe you're just starting this path and wondering what it might bring. Either way, know this: living alone does not make you less connected, less valuable, or less whole. In fact, it often gives you the space to reconnect with parts of yourself that were quietly waiting all along, the wise parts. And it's that inner strength, the one built in solitude, that often becomes your greatest companion in later life. Thank you for joining us today. We'd love to hear from you. Leave a comment below and share one thing you learned today and how you plan to use it in your life. Your thoughts are important to us, so don't hesitate to share them. Reading your comments gives us great motivation and encouragement. If you enjoyed this video and found it helpful, please like, subscribe, and share. Your support helps us continue creating valuable content to inform and inspire you. Thanks for watching, and we look forward to seeing you in the next